Good luck, guys.
Can you tell us your names, please?
It's Elizabeth Doe.
What's the last name?
Doe, D as in David, O as in orange.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your first name.
Elizabeth.
Thank you, sorry.
Kevin Schweitzer,
Okay.
SCH,
Uh-huh.
WEIT,
Uh-huh.
ZER.
And the name of the client in
The Mr. Gilchrist, that's all we know.
Mr. Gilfest?
Gilchrist.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Mr. Gilchrist. Okay. Stop secret.
Hi, Mr. Gilchrist.
Well, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Good, step on in.
Thanks to come out here today. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Did you have any trouble getting here?
No, the directions were clear.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Elizabeth. Nice
Denver.
to meet you. Who's have to sit over here?
Thanks. Can I put my stuff down over here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Absolutely. Did you prefer to go by Denver rather than Mr. Gilchrist?
Yeah, Denver's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, Denver. Sounds good.
We can call us Kevin and Elizabeth.
Okay.
So, Kevin and I have been working together for 5 years here in Las Vegas, and we're very happy to meet you today and hear
Okay.
your story and find out ways that we can help you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, and before we hear your story, I just want you to briefly explain the nature of this meeting.
Okay.
As you speak with our secretary, I understand this meeting is 35 minutes,
Okay.
$100 consultation,
Okay.
and this meeting is confidential. So anything that you say here today to us is just between us. It will never leave this room.
Okay.
So that is true, even if you decide not to retain us as your attorney.
Okay. Good to
So
know.
it's very important for you to feel comfortable and tell us the full story.
Okay.
So because the more you tell us, the better we can help you out.
Okay.
So after we hear your story, Kevin and I are going to ask you some questions. That's mainly because we want to make sure that we got your story right.
Okay.
And might ask you some other questions that have some legal importance.
Okay.
Okay, and during that time, if you have any questions, feel free to stop us and ask questions.
Sounds good.
Okay. After that, we're going to get to know your objective, your goal, what you
Mhm.
want to achieve, and we're going to explore some of the options that you can take to achieve that goal. Some options may be obviously legal options, and we will also explore some other non-legal options that you can take.
We'll explore those options today even?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll go over those options today.
Okay.
After that, we're going to explain briefly about our fee system, and we'll set a future appointment.
Okay.
Okay.
If we decide to pursue.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And our goal today is obviously for you to decide to pursue this matter with us as your representation, but our goal really today is to give you a little peace of mind, to make you feel a little more comfortable about your situation, and to make sure that you understand what your options are,
Okay.
at least from a high level.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for, to know what my options are, and then I can't really know what to do until I know what those are.
Exactly. And we should be able to help you sort that out. So that said, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you're here today?
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is that I have a son, and my wife, with whom I'm having some troubles, she's trying to take it from me, and I want to keep my son. And I don't really know how to keep him around. I love him, he loves me, and I want to be part of his life. And he's really young, so but he wants to be part of my life. He wants his dad to raise him, right? And I feel like I need to have that opportunity, and it's kind of the door's being shut on me right now.
I understand. It's always difficult. And how old is your son?
He's 18 months old. Scotty.
Scotty.
Scotty is his name.
And you mentioned you were having trouble with your wife, and what kind of trouble are you? Are you trying to get a divorce, or?
Well, I'm not trying to. She's trying to. She, about 4 months ago, left and left our apartment and started living at her sister's apartment and took Scotty, which obviously was hard to swallow. But I would prefer, that we'd stay together, but she doesn't want to. And so it's a tough thing. What's most important, though, is my relationship with him. If she doesn't want to be a part of my life, then I still want to be a part of Scotty's. Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about what led up to the event where she left?
Yeah. So we were married a few years ago. We'd been dating, and she got pregnant, and so we got married. I felt like that was the right thing to do, right? Raise a child in the family, father, mother, that type of thing. So we married, and things were going really well. At least I thought they were going really well. Everything between me and Scotty was always really good, and I thought they were good between me and Mariah.
Okay.
But about 4 months ago, she came to me and said that she wanted to leave, and so she left. And I ended up finding out about a month ago that she's actually been seeing somebody else. And so I don't know if that's the reason that she left, or I'm assuming it is. I guess I don't know when they started seeing each other, but after she left, she was letting me still visit Scotty. She let me take him out, but she stopped about a month ago. She kind of cut me completely off, and it's making me really nervous.
I understand that you get that radio silence and you don't quite know what's going on. That's a very uncomfortable situation to be in. So has she given you any kind of an indication of why she's doing what she's doing?
Yeah, and here's the hard part about all of this. And I don't know if it's true. This is just what she's telling me. But I imagine this would be a big strike against me if it is true. I don't know. That's why I'm coming to you guys. But she told me recently that, this is after she left about a month ago, she told me that I'm actually not the biological father. And she says she has DNA testing to back it up. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't seen it. I don't know. I guess she said that while she and I were dating a few years back, that she had a one-night stand with an old boyfriend. But she said it was just the one time, and so she didn't know. She didn't want to tell me. She didn't want to break it to me, so she just kind of let me assume and told me, I guess, that I was the father. And I had believed that I was the biological father up until she told me that recently. But in my view, even if I'm not the biological father, which is still up for debate, I still feel like I am the father because I've raised him these first 18 months. We love each other. I've changed his diapers. I've played with him, and I stayed up with him when he's sick at night. I mean, I've raised him so far, and I want to continue to raise him. And I don't know what the law says, but I'm hoping there's something in it that allows me to continue to.
Well, the good news for you is that courts in the last few years are starting to recognize paternity where there is a lack of biological paternity, which we'll get to when we get to the options. I just want to make sure that we have the entire story. If it comes down to going to court to get custody of Scotty, they're going to look at a lot of factors. One of them will be who's the biological father. What they're mostly going to look at is what's in the best interest of the child. So we would really need to know why you think it would be in Scotty's best interest to be with you, and why you think it would not be in his best interest to be with Mariah.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Mariah?
Yeah. Like I said, our relationship was good. At least in my view, it was really good. Maybe she'd tell you something else, I'm not sure, but for the first 14 months of our marriage, I thought it was really good. She and I got along really well. Scotty and I have always connected. From the day he was born, I mean, it was like, to me, it was just an absolute miracle. And I connected with him immediately, and I love him. And I want him to be in my life. I want to be a part of his life.
Of course, whether you're a biological father to him or not, he's your son at this point.
Yeah, I feel that way.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So I have a couple of questions. When did you exactly get married with Mariah?
I don't, it was 3 years ago.
3 years
About
ago.
3 years ago. Yeah.
So when Scotty was born, you were already married.
That's correct. Scotty was conceived before we were married. During the pregnancy, we got
Okay.
married. Yeah.
Right, okay. And where do you get married? Here in Las Vegas?
Yeah, here.
Okay.
We got married here.
And like Kevin told you, here's a general law that you guys are not started to getting a divorce. But if she insists to getting a divorce, that's something that can happen.
Yeah. She's talking about it. She's pushing
She's
for
talking
it.
about it.
I've asked her to come back. I guess I've kind of begged her a little bit to come back.
Right.
It's making me a little hesitant, obviously, ever since I found out that she had a new boyfriend. I mean, that's troubling. I mean, that's really difficult to swallow. Before that, I was very, on board with the idea of her coming back and the three of us still being a family. Honestly, I'm still open to it.
Mhm.
I would prefer that.
Mhm.
But obviously, if she's insistent that she doesn't want to be with me, she wants to be with him, then that's her thing. If that happens, though, the new boyfriend is not, to me, is not the dad, the stepdad. I mean, I'm the one who's been raising him, I want to keep raising him.
So the issue is, first of all, the short thing is that Mariah is blocking you seeing Scotty right now, and you want to see him, you want to be with him.
That's
So
right.
that's the main problem that you have now.
Mhm.
And potentially you can get a divorce.
Mhm.
And she's talking about getting a
Yeah.
divorce. So when you get to the point that we actually talking about the custody issue, who
Mhm.
will Scotty be with?
Mhm.
And so at this point, since you're the father, whether you're a biological father or not,
Mhm.
that we don't know, but since Scotty was born during your marriage,
Mhm.
that you're, under the general law, you are presumed to be his father.
Mhm.
So you have every right to see him, but it's just practically Mariah is who's staying with Scotty, and you can't just really force her to, you and Scotty can meet. So that's the problem. So,
But there's nothing, no court has said that, or agency, no government agency or court has said that she should get to keep him during this time. I'm just trying to be nice and everything. I mean, I have every right to have taken Scotty and left as well. Couldn't I go in and demand, you know what I mean? She's the mom, and I know that usually the moms are the ones who kind of keep the child when things go down, and so I haven't wanted to rock that boat. So, but I do feel like I have equal rights there.
exactly. I mean, that's what Kevin was saying. People normally believe that mother has the right to keep their children, but under the law, the one thing that courts look at is who is the best interest for the child.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll get to that point. So it's just not mother. It's just who can provide for this kid the best interest. That's
Yeah.
the key thing.
So
Okay.
if I may back up just a second though, I want to be very clear that we definitely are advising and recommending that you do not do anything illegal, that you do not go and physically take the child away from her.
Okay.
Not only is it unethical, not only is it illegal, not only is it going to lead to problems for you in the court system, it's also going to be a strike against you in your case of making yourself look like who's the parent who's in the best interest of the child.
Okay. And I wasn't planning on marching through the door and taking him, but I thought maybe I could call the police and they could accompany me there and say, "Can I please see my son for the rest of the day?" or something. But I don't know. I don't really know.
Well, Mariah has equal rights to over Scotty, and I think it's a very wise move that you didn't do anything to physically take Scotty away from Mariah. At this point, so non-legal option that you can take is, I think it's better for you to maintain a nice relationship with Mariah as you can, because obviously Scotty's with her, and it will help you down the road.
Okay. That's good to know.
Mhm.
That's what I've been doing anyways, and I guess I'll continue down that path.
Another thing that might help, if she's talking about a divorce, if you happen to know if she's talking to an attorney, if you know that attorney's name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I was thinking that if you choose to have us represent you, we can work directly with the attorney and make her attorney understand why she needs to share visitation, or
Okay.
why she needs to share custody with you at this point.
So So would I, assuming this divorce does happen, and we come to an agreement here, you would represent me in both the divorce and the child custody?
Yes.
The
Yes.
whole thing?
Yes, we
Okay.
can represent him in all those areas.
So let's get into, so what do you do for a living?
I work at the local House Depot,
Mhm.
big hardware store.
Okay, and is Mariah has any jobs?
Mariah currently does not, but her
Or
sister with whom she lives does,
Mhm.
and then the boyfriend has a job. I'm not sure what they do, but they do work. Speaking of work, though, man, you're talking about best interests.
Mhm.
You've both said that, you know, whatever however Scotty's best interest would be served. I mean, I have an income, and I can provide that for him. And if Mariah can't, then I don't know. I feel like that's something that kind of helps him
That's,
come to me.
that is one factor that will goes for you.
Mhm.
So like Kevin and I was talking about, the courts is just not looking at the one fact, whether who has a job, who has not.
Mhm.
They will see the whole picture. So,
Okay.
so having a job is good for you because it's definitely what the court is going to look for it.
Mhm.
So let's get another factors that court might take a look at it. So, you said you have a great relationship with
Yeah.
Scotty and you change his diaper.
Yeah.
And you know, he was
Always helped out with all the domestic stuff and enjoyed it.
Yeah. And how do you think that Mariah was?
You know, I'm not gonna lie to you. Mariah also has a good relationship with Scotty,
Mhm.
and she takes care of him.
Mhm.
The thing that about Mariah's situation that I think is not good for Scotty is just that she's less stable, as evidenced by, you know, the one night stand and lying to me about that, and potentially lying to me about whether I'm actually the biological father. But at least we know that she was with me. She had the one night stand, didn't tell me about it. You know, this dishonesty is not.
Mhm.
It's not good to raise a child in a dishonest environment. And she has this new boyfriend, and she's married to me.
Mhm.
But she's, you know, I don't know when the dating between them began, the relationship began. It probably started before we split up. Even if it didn't, she's still legally married to me. She's with another man. I mean, this environment is just not ideal for our son. I feel like I can provide stability.
Mhm.
Sure, sure. And speaking of stability, I mean, the lies and the changes in the child's life, certainly those are disconcerting and those speak to instability. Is there anything else that would make you concerned that she's unstable? Is there any alcohol abuse, drug abuse, that sort of thing?
No,
Okay.
no problems like that.
So one of the factors that the courts will look at it is whether anyone has a criminal record or anything like that. So I have to ask you, do
Yeah.
you have any criminal record?
I do not. I mean, we each had a speeding ticket or two, but
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
not
everyone
gonna.
has.
No, as
She's-
long as it's a speeding ticket and not a DUI.
correct.
Okay.
Neither of us have a record. I mean, I wouldn't wish. Mariah is just generally, she's a good mom. I'm not going to make up anything to make it sound
Yeah.
like there's a bad situation going on there, other than the kind of poor life choices that she makes that I've already described.
So do you know the new boyfriend is living with Mariah and Scotty or just?
Well, she's living with her sister, so I don't think that he's there as well. I mean, they spend so much time together. I doubt I don't think he's living in there. But the last month I haven't had any communication with Scotty at all. I haven't been able to go over. So I don't know if that's changed. She was letting me go over and see Scotty at her sister's house. She was letting me take Scotty out, go on walks with him, take him to see my mother. My mother is just beside herself. You know, she loves Scotty, Scotty loves her. And, you know, the relationship is more than just me and him. It's between Scotty and his grandma. And we've both been shut out completely the last month. And Mariah is insisting that I can't get back in. So, anyways, I don't know if the boyfriend, Warren is his name. I don't know if Warren is.
Because it's very upsetting not to see what's going on actually there. And you don't know this Warren person is, you know, safe person to be around or not. So definitely I think the short thing at this moment, you can take and we can think about is that somehow we have to get us a court order to, at least you can see Scotty.
Mhm.
Um,
So if I get a court order, then would I just take it to the doorstep and say,
That's the problem. So getting a court order is one thing, and how you enforce it, whether you get police help and go there and bust their door and I mean, that's the trickiest part. So getting a court order is one thing that you can do, is legal right that you have, but how you enforce it, so.
I think Mariah's gonna be really, I think if we have an order, she's not gonna be physically,
Yeah.
she's not gonna put up this barrier. I know her well enough to know that if there's a court order, if a judge tells her that she needs to do something, she'll do it.
So that's a good thing. So that's why you wisely maintaining a good relationship with Mariah was a
Yeah.
good thing. So once we get a court order, she can more easily cooperate with the court order.
Okay.
So that's the one thing that we can do.
What's the time frame? Can we get that in the next week or two? Because look, he's only 18, and it's already been a month.
Mhm.
And you know how these little kids are. You don't see them for a month, and you see them again. It's like they're re-meeting you.
Exactly, you're worried that
Yeah.
The time
he's not going to form that critical bond with you.
Right. And look, Warren seems like a decent guy. I don't know him really that well, but I don't know. From what I know, he seems okay. But Mariah has told me that Scotty is now kind of forming a bond with him, and that makes me a little bit nervous because, I mean, he's not, absolutely he's not the biological father. Right. The biological father is either me or the old boyfriend that she had the one-night stand with, unless she can tell me about another one. But then this new guy, Warren, he may be a good wife to Mariah, but he doesn't deserve to be dad.
And again, as I mentioned before, courts don't look strictly at biological paternity in granting custody anymore. Some of the factors that they consider are who has been held out to be the father, which would be you. When Scotty was born, Mariah at least claimed that you were his father.
Right.
You were raising Scotty, so that's a factor in establishing who the sort of legal father is.
Right. That's good up until first 17 months of Scotty's life. What I'm concerned about is if it's going to take us a long time for me to get back involved, that Warren will also be able to say the same things. That he's been there for the last 6 months or whatever, and that scares me because
Being a boyfriend doesn't rise to any legal rights at this point. So the sooner we take action, like you mentioned, time framing is critical. So in order to get that court order, so I think we need some documentations from you.
Okay.
First, marriage certificate.
Sure. I didn't bring anything with me, but I can.
That is
We
okay.
can get a list at the end and I'll
Sure.
bring it home.
Yeah.
So marriage certificate, and do you have Scotty's birth certificate also?
I have it, and I'm on it. My name is on there as the father.
Sure.
Right.
But yeah,
Do you know where you find it?
yeah, it's in our apartment still.
It's very important you don't lose it.
Okay.
And locate it, and how soon can you bring those documentation to us?
I can bring this stuff back in. If it's like a marriage license,
Mhm.
birth certificate, I can bring it back in by tomorrow.
Okay.
This is important to me, so I can.
Mhm.
The apartment you mentioned, are you leasing? Do you own?
I am leasing.
Okay. And whose names are on the lease?
I have to check, but I think it's both of ours.
Okay. It might not hurt to bring in that lease as well. I don't know if it would swing anything in your favor or not, but we can always take a look at it and see if there's something in the lease that would sort of establish that residency as Scotty's home,
Okay.
to sort of help you establish that you've been involved in raising him.
Okay, sure.
So one thing, the documentation we just mentioned, is we need it immediately to get the court order so that you can see Scotty.
Okay.
And in the long term, we talked about divorce,
Mhm.
right? When we get to that point, there's another legal issue that who will have the custody
Mhm.
over Scotty. And there is a lot, different kind of custodies involved.
Mhm.
You can take physical custody, and there is a legal custody.
Okay.
So physical custody literally means who is going to stay with this kid,
Okay.
okay? And legal
Who
custody,
lives with?
Mhm.
Right.
Yes, correct. And legal custody is just basically who's gonna make decisions for this kid, like where this kids go to school, you know,
Yeah.
what kind of medication he will take, things like, you know, important decisions in the kid's life.
So Mariah could have physical custody, Scotty could live with Mariah, yet I'm the one making the decisions about school and all that stuff?
It could be what has physical, what has legal, and it could be that it's both of them are, one or both of them are split.
So you can have both.
Can have both or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
separate. And under the physical custody, you can have full custody, meaning Scotty stay with you all the time, or Scotty can stay with Mariah all the time. That's the full custody. And you can also have a joint custody, meaning you have stayed part with Scotty, and Mariah also stayed with Scotty
Mhm.
for some time.
Okay,
So,
yeah,
do you have any questions regarding this? So it depends on the situations,
yeah.
and
And whether I'm the biological father or not may play into it?
that will have to more research on it, but generally, court presume when the kids are born, when you were married,
Yeah,
whether you're a biological father or not, you are the father.
yeah. Because I was married to, at the time that
Scotty was born, so
Yeah.
that's important. So that's why we ask for the marriage certificate
Mhm.
and birth certificate for that matter.
Yeah.
So when we get to that custody issue, the whole factor issue comes in. So the court will take a look at who has the best interest for this kid.
So then, is it irrelevant then whether I'm the biological father, or we're gonna need to establish DNA testing here? I guess part of me kind of wants to just know for sure, but in the end, I still want him to be my son. But
I wouldn't say that it's irrelevant, and I would say that pursuing DNA testing is probably a very good idea. If the DNA testing shows that you are the biological father, you know, combined with the fact that you were his father at birth, you were married to his mother when Scotty was born, all of these things are going to weigh very heavily in your favor. However, I would also say that if the DNA testing shows that you are not the biological father,
Yeah,
it's not game over for you.
okay.
You know, because of the fact that, as Elizabeth mentioned, you were legally the father when he was born, and you were held out as the father, and you helped raise him. Those are things that are going to weigh in your favor, and it may help you maintain at least some custody rights.
All right. So are we just gonna trust their DNA? She's told me she has a DNA test, I haven't seen it. Do we just ask for and trust that that's correct, or we can do our own?
We can certainly do our own.
Okay.
That's what you want. And like
I think so, just to.
Yeah, make sure.
Sure.
Like Kevin said, this is not a decisive factor.
Yeah.
So regardless of the results, it's not gonna affect you negatively.
Yeah.
But I understand you wanna know, right?
Right, yeah.
You wanna know
yeah.
and don't wanna trust what they're just saying. So
Yeah.
I think it's
She'll bring it up anyways, if she really does have this test,
Mhm.
and we're gonna go through the proceedings. I mean, she's gonna use it as a strike against me, so I mean, we're
So
gonna
I think it's a good
talk about it
idea.
anyways.
I think it's a good idea for you to get your own tests.
Okay.
So,
Although it also wouldn't hurt to give her a call and ask her for that if she's talking to an attorney. If we could see that any DNA testing that she has, if we could talk to her attorney, that would be wonderful. Again, I understand, it sounds like she's not returning your calls at this point.
Yeah,
If you call her from your cell phone and you have the log right on the phone, so you can show us and look at made these attempts to contact her, she's simply not calling me back.
Mhm.
That might be helpful to us.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I could-
So that'd be something else to bring in.
right.
If she has an attorney, then you and the attorney should talk, right? Mariah and I probably are gonna back off a little bit, or,
Not necessary. That's why I was mentioning that it's good for you to maintain a good relationship with Mariah, because anything you two can solve
yeah,
without lawyers involved,
okay,
if you guys can come into agreement 100%,
yeah,
then no lawyer needs to be involved, actually. That's the court actually prefer you to solve the issues, but generally many couples can get to 100% agreement. That's why lawyers involved and
yeah.
courts has decide a lot of things.
Plus, I don't want to give in on something that I could have won on. If I can get more time with him, I don't want to lose that, so I kind of think that you guys know better than I do how I can get the most.
Mm,
Absolutely.
And by most, I mean time with Scott, that's what I mean.
right.
Sure.
So when we get to the divorce issue, there's a lot of other things that you want to besides Scotty, I know that's mainly your concern,
Mhm.
getting custody over Scotty, but assets, involved.
Mhm.
Some other things that you wanna,
I haven't thought about anything about the divorce so much.
Right.
I'd be happy to, if you want, let me think about it and talk, consider the assets that I want. We don't have much.
right,
We don't own the home, and that's fine. I'd be happy to give you my opinion on that. I probably need to think about it a bit more.
Exactly.
Today, I'm just mostly concerned about
Exactly.
seeing Scotty.
Getting that court order, and Desiree, we'd love to help you out. We'd love to go get that court order for you. You seem like a very sincere guy. I'm certain that you would be a good influence in Scotty's life. So we'd very much like to help you out with that. And it sounds like you're comfortable using us as your representation.
This is feeling pretty good. I think, I know your rates. I don't know how many hours.
So,
Do you know what?
to explain our fee system, this is our
Okay.
system, and we charge $200 for an hour.
Legal fees are a little spendy, huh?
That's how we
Yeah.
keep good quality services. And also, I think this type of work, I think we need a 10-hour retainer upfront.
So
That means,
10 hours times the 200.
yes,
Right.
you pay us in advance, and then that means we can start writing on it.
Okay.
And then after, if any hours that we haven't worked on, then we're going to refund you
Okay.
the remainder of that.
How long does a case like this, how many hours do you think you'd
It depends. It depends, because that's why I keep saying, try to maintain, at this point it's hard because she's completely shut you out,
Mhm.
but try to maintain a good relationship. That will speed things up.
Yeah.
Things that you
Okay.
can agree on, that we don't have to dispute over. That will save the time and
Yeah.
money.
Okay.
So that's important.
But I don't want to give you the wrong impression. If it's going to cost me some money in legal fees so that I can see Scotty, I'm willing to do it. I don't have a lot of money, and so that's the main reason I would keep the fees low. But if I had $1 million, I'd pay all of it so that I could, see him.
Sure. Just to explore some options, you said that your mother was also very distraught and heartbroken. She couldn't see Scotty. Do your parents have any money? Would they be willing to help out with the legal fees?
It's my mom. My dad passed away. My mom, yeah, she may have some. She doesn't have a lot of means, but she has more than I do.
We'll also have a fee and financing system, so
Mhm.
I want you to, take this and go
Okay.
home and read it over.
Sure.
And when you feel comfortable, bring that document signed, and also the documentation we ask for. Remember the marriage certificate.
Birth certificate.
Certificate. And I also.
There's an attorney. And
Mhm.
if she has an attorney.
There, that's.
Call log from your cell phone.
Mhm.
And if you could bring in your lease again,
Oh,
just to,
lease.
Right.
just to take a look.
And
at it.
then from now on, I also want you to start a journal
Mhm.
that on this day, I tried to contact Mariah, but I
Okay.
failed, and this is what she said, and this is the
Okay.
situation.
Starting now, or do I go back to?
Starting now, but if you remember anything in the past, also write it down. 'Cause
Okay,
that can be a good evidence that later we can show to the court that,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
anything you remember happened in the past, you write on it, and then from now on, you just make that journal.
Okay. I can do that.
And so I hope you feel a little better about your situation. You're not out of any options, completely out of any options. There's a order we can take,
Mhm.
and we can definitely start on it by tomorrow, because we know it's very important. Get to see Scotty right away.
Yeah. I'll bring it back into you. I wanted to ask you, I'll bring in all the information tomorrow. I wanted to ask you though, I don't want to use a scare tactic on the, I want to be serious. Should I tell her that I've talked to an attorney? Because I don't want her to, not let me.
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I feel like it's fair just to let people know what your situation is, so that I think that it's a little more unfair to sort of spring it on her, when we file for a court order, than to tell her up front, hey, this is what I'm considering. So I understand that it can be a difficult conversation, but I think it's probably less difficult than the other alternative.
That makes sense.
So here's our business card.
All right, thank you.
And so hopefully we can see you tomorrow.
I'll be back tomorrow. Just
Sounds
can drop
great.
off in the morning, is that?
Yes.
Yes, sounds good.
All right.
All right.
It's very nice meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in today. We're going to do our best to get your son back.
Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right. Have a good day.
You as well.
So, I think we definitely need some research on
Yes.
the,
On custody rights. Yeah.
right,
And I did have to do a little research on a semi-related topic the other day. And I think that there are a couple recent cases where you don't need to be the biological parent
absolutely.
to maintain parental rights.
I think, yes, you're right, and then I need to definitely recheck on it. There is a presumption of fatherhood.
Yes,
When
you're right
the-
about that, yeah.
So that will, whether regardless of the DNA test, he has the legal right
Right.
as a father. And I'm kind of relieved to know that though the new boyfriend is not someone who need to be.
Not a criminal, that kind of thing, yeah.
So at
yeah.
least Scotty is in good hands.
Yeah,
So.
that's important.
Mhm.
I think that it probably works against him a little bit that Scotty is so young.
That is true,
Um,
yeah. And it's a mother.
Because, I mean, even if he can show specific signs of the bond that he's formed with Scotty, maybe he can, you know, Scotty's not at the point where he's formed memories.
Right.
So
I
he
think
doesn't really know his situation yet.
that's true. Maybe you can research on how young child is impacting the
Yeah,
court
yeah.
decision. And I will definitely recheck on the biological father's right, also the presumption of the fatherhood.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Okay.
sounds good.
All right.
Time. Awesome.
Thank you.
Can you please tell us your names?
Vincent Godino.
What's that?
Vincent Godino. Godinho.
Geo.
Dinho.
Got it.
And Brianna Lamana, Lamanna.
And the name of the client is the same one? Same one? Same one? Okay, just want to make sure.
It's the 7th today, right?
The
Right,
8th.
Okay,
It's
yeah, I
the
think I'm a day off. Okay. I'll go back and I will not skiers that I can
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Gilchrist.
That's me. You can call me Denver.
Denver. Nice
Yeah.
to meet you.
Denver, Brianna, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We'll have to take a seat in this first chair right here.
Okay.
Would you like a water?
The secretary, you know, thank you.
Okay, perfect. How's your day going so far?
It's okay. It's been better.
Yeah.
Tough little time here, but it's, other than the difficulties for which I'm coming to see you, it's going well.
Okay. Okay, so we just wanted to touch on some things before we get started and have you explain everything that's going on here. The first thing is our fee schedule. As you'll see here, it's going to be $100 for this initial interview.
Right.
And then if you do choose to retain us, it'll be $200 per hour.
Okay.
And if you have any questions about that, we'll talk about that later after everything happens. We just wanted to let you know up front.
That sounds good. I just did want to ask, though, if we go over the time, does the 200 per hour start going?
No, this interview would just be $100.
Okay. Good.
All right, thank you. And then we wanted to let you know that everything that happens here is covered under client attorney privilege, which means that what you say here cannot leave this room. There are some exceptions, but we don't think that they'll arise in this case, and if they do, we'll let you know. And
Like what?
well, there's an exception, like if you we're threatening someone, or if we thought someone's life might be in danger. Like we said, we
Yeah.
don't think this is going to be an issue here.
Everything else I say,
Yes,
we're good.
absolutely everything you say. So we encourage that you tell us everything that's going on, because it's going to help us better to help you. And so
Mhm.
the more we know, the more we're going to be able to help you.
And if we don't find a retainer, then is that still confidential?
Absolutely. Nothing that you say here will leave this room.
Okay.
Okay, and have you hired any other attorneys for this matter?
No, I haven't. You're the first people I talked to. I got a recommendation
Okay.
and called your office.
Okay. And so while we're asking questions, we're going to be taking notes, if that's all right, just so we can refer back to them later. We don't want you to think we're not paying attention or anything. We
Okay,
just
sure.
refer back. And did you bring any documents with you today? Bring anything with you?
No, I didn't bring anything. I'm very happy to bring anything back as soon as possible, but I just didn't know what to bring.
Sure, that's fine. And so how this is going to go, we're going to ask you first why you can explain just why you came to see us, and then we might ask some more questions as things go on to try to tease out some more details and get some more information, okay? So what can we do for you today?
Basically, I'm here to see what can be done so that I can continue to have my son in my life. That's the bottom line here. So I have a son whose name is Scotty, and I've raised him up until this point, and my wife, who probably soon to be ex-wife, is not letting me see him anymore. And I don't think that's right. And I just want to make sure that he, stays a part of my life.
Sure. And how old is Scotty?
Scotty is 18 months old.
Okay.
And how long have you and your wife been married?
Just a little bit longer than that. A couple of years. We married after he was conceived, and then he was born. We were married, and he was born.
Okay. So we're going to have to ask some difficult questions because of the nature of the problem. It's nothing about your character or anything, but these are things that the court is going to look at, and so we want to make sure that we have all the information we can, just so that we can deal with the problem effectively.
Okay.
Why are you and your wife separating?
It's completely her decision. I don't know, I was fine with the relationship. I was very happy in the marriage, and things were going well. And, my focus here is going to be Scotty, right? So that's my goal. I don't really know what's going to happen with divorce and that type of thing. It's looking like it's probably going to happen, but I don't know. But my main goal is to see Scotty. But the reason this came about 4 months ago, Mariah, my wife, told me that she was going to move to her sister's house, or apartment. And she took Scotty, and they went. And she said she wanted to, do a separation. And I didn't really understand the reasons why, except for that she thought we married hastily and it wasn't a good idea. Presumably, so we've been dating. She got pregnant, and I did what I thought was the right thing, marry her, and we could raise a child together and that type of thing. I thought it was fine and dandy, but I guess she said that maybe it wasn't the right decision. But I found out a month ago, though, that she's actually been seeing somebody, so I don't know if they started seeing each other before or after we split up, but obviously that's a fact that's going on right now.
Okay.
Do you know the person she's seeing?
I know of him. His name is Warren, but I don't know much about him. I mean, he seems like a fairly decent dude, but I don't really know him.
So, I guess if you could describe just a little bit more about when Mariah left, did she leave a note? Do you know exactly where she is? That kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I know. She just talked to me and said that she was going to be leaving the next day, and she did. And took Scotty with her. And I do know where she's at. She's with her sister, still here in Las Vegas. And it was fine for the first, it wasn't fine because I would prefer that they're still home with me. We have an apartment, renting it. It's our home, right? And I would prefer that they're both back with me, but the real hard thing came down about a month ago. She told me that she kind of finalized the plan that she wasn't going to come back, and that she had found somebody else. And she also told me that I might not be the biological father, which I don't know if this is true or not. According to her, she has a DNA test that says that, that I'm not. And then this is all news to me, but she told me that she believes the biological father is, that the biological father is a former boyfriend she had a long time ago. And when she and I were dating, she had a one-night stand with. She said it was just that one time she got pregnant. She suspected it might have been from him. She didn't want to break the news to me because, again, we were dating. And she just kind of told me that I was it and I was for sure the father. I never questioned it until a month ago. So, but that's I hope I'm the biological father. But even if I'm not, I've raised him and I love him. I'm his dad, right?
Okay, sure. So we absolutely understand that. Yeah, I'm sorry that you have to go through something like this. It must be hard. And so you said that Mariah had mentioned she has some sort of test or like results from the test. Have you seen it? Has she ever showed it to you? She just said she.
She just says she has it. I haven't seen it. I don't understand the science of DNA testing either. I don't know. I'm just trying to kind of digest it all. So essentially told me that she has not let me see him. She left like 4 months ago. And she was letting me see him. She was letting me go over and play with him, take him on walks. My mom, my dad passed away, but my mom lives here. And so she and her grandson, Scotty, have a great relationship. And that has now been severed in the last month because Mariah has just basically put us both out completely and won't let us. She says I'm not the actual dad. What right do I have there? But I feel otherwise. I've raised him. I love him. From the minute he was born, we connected. I have played with him for countless hours, put him to sleep, changed his diaper, played with him on the floor, tossed him up in the air, all that stuff. And it was a miracle when he was born. And whether I'm his biological father or not, I feel like I am his father.
Absolutely. Do you know if she's contacted her former boyfriend at all to let him know?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And has she proceeded with filing any sort of paperwork about a divorce or custody or separation or any of those things?
She hasn't told me that she has.
Okay.
I guess I don't know for sure, but I have not been notified.
Okay.
The only thing she tells me right now is, you're not the dad, stay away.
Okay. And you said this started about a month ago.
Yeah.
When you were no longer able to see yourself.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
And so do you know anything about how Scotty's doing right now? Is he okay?
I don't know because I haven't been able to see him for the month and she doesn't really give me any details about him. Presumably he's still okay. Scotty and Mariah have always had a good relationship. She's a good mom. She's unstable as we can see here, obviously. But she treats them well. They love each other. I can't take that from her. But, I like to think that he misses me. He's 18 months old, every time that I walk in the room to see him, his face would light up and he likes me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think that he misses me and wants to see me. But I don't know how he's doing.
Okay. So back to kind of the difficult questions that we had talked about before. Has there ever been any history of any type of domestic violence in your relationship?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
And have you ever used any types of drug or had any alcohol problems?
No problems. No. Just a traditional drinking socially on occasion, that type of thing. Never had any issues with that or any drugs.
And so you had used the term unstable to describe Mariah just a moment ago. Are you referring to anything else about her other than this sudden sort of picking up and leaving?
No, mostly that. She doesn't have drug problems or things like that. I just think that what I meant was, I don't think it's good for a child to be raised in an environment where there's dishonesty. Like, so we were dating, and she had a one-night stand with her old flame, and didn't tell me about it. Let me think that I was the biological father for 18 months. Well, 18 months plus the pregnancy, right? And then sprung that one on me. And I don't think it's good to raise a child in a dishonest environment. And then just, I mean, she and I are still married, and she's seen this guy, and I don't know how long they've seen each other. And I just feel like I can provide stability. I have a job. She does not have a job. Her sister does, and her boyfriend does. But that's what I meant by the instability.
And what, you mentioned you have a job, where do you work?
I work at the House Depot, the
Okay.
warehouse
Okay.
place.
And do you have a high school diploma?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Did you ever start higher education?
No.
Okay.
But I do make, I mean, I don't have a lot of money. But I feel like I make enough money that I can support. I do. And I'll cut out other expenses, so that I can raise Scotty. That's more important to me than anything else. I mean, I'll live with him in our apartment and keep a car for 10, 15 years. And not upgrade my lifestyle so that I can stay with him, or he can stay with me. I mean, I don't have to have a lot of money to have him. I have enough to meet his needs.
And were you supporting him and your wife before she left?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does she have a high school diploma and or any higher education?
The same as me.
Okay. So we're hearing you talk about wanting to have custody. Do you imagine that would be full custody, or are you willing to share custody? What do you imagine that?
Well, I prefer that it doesn't even get to the custody issue. I don't know. It was a big blow to find out that she's been seeing this guy. Deep down, I still want the three of us to be a family. That's my first choice. And maybe I'm a sucker, but I'm still trying. That's where my heart is. If that doesn't happen, then yeah, I would like to be able to see him as much as possible. I know I don't know a lot about this, but it seems to be very traditional that the mother, gets custody and the father's the one visiting on weekends or whatever. But I would like to push for as much as I can possibly see him, which could be, I don't know the right terms, but yeah, I would like him to live with me, right? But I would let her obviously be a big part of his life. She is his mother. I want him to have a relationship with her. So, whatever it takes to see him the most is my answer there, I guess.
Okay.
And so it sounds like you've been keeping in contact with Mariah, talking with her about, keeping reconciliation between you guys, or just also seeing Scotty as much as possible. Like, how do you guys' conversations go? How often do you speak?
Well, so when we split up about 4 months ago, it was fine. I mean, it was tough. Obviously, it was tough. But as far as communicating and her allowing me to see Scotty, those things were really good for the first few months. But in the last month, it has been really bad. She's basically just shut me off completely. Said, "You're not the dad. You have no rights. You can't see him." It's been. I can't even get in there. So I don't know what else to do other than barge in. But I don't think that's something I should be doing. I thought about, I don't know, calling the police and having them escort me so I can go see my son. But I want to do things the right way so that I don't, forego opportunities to see him in the future.
Absolutely. We completely understand that. And like Vincent said before, we're really sorry that you've been put in this situation, and we're going to try to help you as much as we can. What we want to do right now, though, is we want to kind of recap everything that you told us, just to make sure that we have the story as accurate as possible.
Sure.
Feel free at any time to stop me and correct whatever I say, or if you think of something else that maybe we didn't ask about or you haven't mentioned yet, go ahead and just throw it in there and we'll be sure to get everything down.
Okay.
Okay. So, you and your wife have been married for a couple of years. You got married after you found out that she was pregnant with Scotty, who you believe to be your son. You recently found out that may not be your biological son.
Right.
For you, that doesn't matter. You raised him for
Right.
the past 18 months of his life, and you still feel that you are his father, and you want to seek some sort of visitation or custody so that you can have him living with you and kind of try to get things back to normal the way that they are after your wife left about 4 months ago to live with her sister. And from what you told us, she seemed to have left because she feels that you guys rushed into the marriage with the baby coming and everything, and she's now not comfortable with that anymore. And you recently found out from her that she's been seeing another man about a month ago, and you're not sure if she was seeing him before or if this is a recent thing, but she does have a new boyfriend. You have a high school diploma and you have a job at a warehouse where you're making decent money and you've been supporting your
Or I meant hardware store, sorry.
Hardware store.
Office Depot.
Home Depot?
House Depot.
House Depot,
House
okay.
Depot.
So you've been working at this hardware store and you've been making decent money to be able to provide for your wife and your kids so far, and you think that you would be able to continue doing that, whatever sacrifices you need to make. She, however, has not been working, and she's currently living with her sister. And he has a good relationship with her, and you don't want to break that relationship. You just feel that you would have a more stable environment for him. And you want to be able to see him, which you haven't for the last month since she told you that you may not be the biological father. You also want your mom to be able to see him because she did have a great relationship with her grandson before his mother unfortunately stopped letting him see you all. Is there anything else that you can think of that we haven't mentioned?
No, that all sounds very accurate. I guess maybe a concern that I have that I haven't mentioned. I guess I'm concerned that the current boyfriend, Warren, that I just don't want Scotty to start seeing him as, his dad.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, just that, you know how it is with these young kids that a month or two goes by and you haven't seen them, it's easy for them to forget. His face lights up every time that I walk in the room. He knows me, he recognizes me, but if too much time goes by, he's just a little kid and he's going to lose that. And I'm afraid that that someone else who hasn't raised him, who's not for sure not his biological father, is going to kind of insert himself in there and become his new dad. So it makes me nervous that a month is already going by. I don't want any more time to go by. I want to be able to continue to see him again. So that's really hard to picture. His supposed biological father is just out of the picture. So I don't think that Warren has any right over me whatsoever.
Right. What do you know about Warren other than what you've kind of told us about already? Just
Very little. He has a job. I don't know exactly, but I don't. He lives in the area, but doesn't live with his sisters unless they moved in the last couple of months. I doubt that would happen, but seems like a decent guy. But I don't think that gives him the right to, just because he's a decent guy who may end up with Scotty's mother doesn't mean that he's going to be the dad. So I don't have anything that's really strong against him other than that.
Okay. So I just want to go over the goals and maybe talk about maybe some things that we can think about. Okay, so we know that you want to keep Scotty in your life, of course, and see him as much as possible.
Mhm.
Now, because Mariah has sort of cut you off completely, it might be possible that we can kind of help you talk to her, maybe see if we can kind of resolve you not being able to see Scotty in the meantime before sort of exploring other more legal alternatives like lawsuits or anything like that. Does that sound like something that would be okay with you?
To see him as soon as possible?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how this all works together. I mean, I don't know if, whatever can be done so that I can see him, start seeing him again as soon as possible. And then, yeah, like you said, we have to deal with other things that follow. I haven't really given it a whole lot of thought to whether I for sure want the divorce or this. She says she does, but I'm still, so I don't really know about that. I don't know if you guys would be the same attorneys for that as you would for, I don't really know if I need to look at somebody separate. But that's kind of been off my radar. Most important thing to me is, let's see him, I want to see him as soon as possible. In a way that doesn't negatively affect my future possibility.
Okay.
Yeah, as Vince mentioned, that's something that potentially we could contact her. Sometimes just having an attorney present or in this situation can help, because we can explain some of the legal things. From what we do know, it seems as though you do have a legal right to him, even if you aren't the biological father, because in Nevada, if a child is born in a marriage, that child is recognized to the father, even if you're not the biological father. So potentially you do have a legal right to see him, and her denying you of that right is something that we could potentially step in and maybe give her a call and try to help with that situation.
You think it'd be better if you called, or should I? Because I don't want her to get scared and to put even more barriers.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, but do you think that you should call instead of me? I don't know. What do you think? Who should be calling her?
Possibly, ideally, it would be good if you were able to sort of resolve these things, but it's just sounded like maybe she hasn't been talking to you, or...
Well, she'll take
Okay.
the call sometime. I mean, I can get in touch with her, but it's always a quick conversation. But if I get in touch with her, I can text her. I can leave a note on her door. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, just telling her that I have talked to attorneys. But I also don't want to scare her.
Right.
And then have her like, really not let me see him. I mean, I don't know.
Sure. So, it sounds like maybe you'd be more comfortable communicating with her directly rather than having us give her a call.
It's whatever you think would be best. You're the experts in this area. I mean, I know her, you guys don't, but I guess I don't know what the best chance of success is. I don't know. I guess my biggest thing is, I don't know if it's whether you tell her or I tell her. I just don't know if she should know that I've talked to attorneys.
Okay.
That might really scare her off.
Sure.
If you do think that that's something that would scare her off, one thing that you can do is contact her and let her know that you do have a legal right to see him. And if you want to avoid using the letting her know that you've contacted attorneys, you can still talk to her about the fact that you are her father under the law, or you are his father under the law, and they have a right to see him. Unfortunately, it may scare her either way. Once she hears legal, she may go towards maybe filing divorce or filing some other type of paperwork. And if that happens, then we're here to help you in that situation. But in terms of trying to get you to see him as soon as possible, that is one solution, to let her know that you found out that you do have a legal right to see him because you are his father.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But I think if I point out to her, as you've said, because she and I were married at the time that he was born, right? Because she's obviously the mother. I mean, there's no question that. I was married to her. That means that I have parental rights, right? Yeah, I think that might make sense to her. So I will let her know what you've told me there, and hopefully that'll kind of open the door for right now. But if she's resistant, I mean, what do we do? Do do we go to the police or get a court order? I'm not sure how to, again, because my concern is I already haven't seen him for a month. 2 months, 3 months, 4 months go by, he's not even gonna remember me.
Right. So, there's certain proceedings, such as like a divorce proceeding, for example, can take a while. I think we'd want to definitely explore like some other alternative means,
Yeah.
since time is sort of of the essence. So,
If we're not, whether we're divorcing or not though,
right.
I still have the right to see him,
Yes.
right? Okay, so if she doesn't, I'm gonna call her, as we said, I'm gonna talk to her about me seeing you and my legal rights that you mentioned. And if she still resists, then I guess then what is what I'm asking?
Right. We need to look at what the best course in that situation would be. Sometimes getting the cops involved is not the best situation, but there are some like quick things that we potentially could do with the court to try and stop her from taking the child away and try to stop her from not allowing you to see the child. That doesn't involve like divorce proceedings and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If she sees court documents, I think she'll comply if she sees a court document. So how, you said quick, I mean, how?
There's certain things like a preliminary injunction or other types of things that are, you try to get them in front of the judge as quickly as possible within like a week or so, and then they decide, and then that is what is standing in the case until it goes further.
Okay. That sounds good. I mean, whatever it takes, But we'll start with step one, which is me just talking to her, and I'll be back in touch with. I'm going to talk to her within 24 hours, and then I'll report back and let you know how it went.
Okay.
But I mean, if I talk to her and she says, "Yeah, you can start seeing him again," then can I still go see him without consulting with you?
Yes. If she gives you permission and she currently has him, you are welcome to go and visit him. Just let us know, keep us updated on what's happening so that way we can stay updated on what we need to do on our end. From what it sounds like to us, you want to avoid kind of going into the courtroom and kind of drawing this out into a legal thing. And there are some things that we can do to try and avoid that as much as possible, like you two deciding on when visitation is going to happen between the two of you. So she gets in 3 days, you get in 4 days, that type of thing, so that you work out a schedule among yourselves and the court doesn't have to get involved. And that might be something that, we can sit down and have a conversation about, if she does agree to allow you to see him after hearing that you do have a legal right.
Okay. Well, one thing that is a little bit, you said, yeah, you are right. I would like to avoid as much of the court stuff as possible, mostly because, well, one, I don't know how long it's going to take. That's the biggest issue. But also, I mean, I make enough money to support him, so I don't want to give off the wrong impression there. I feel like I can provide him stability, but I don't make so much money that I can pay a lot of legal fees. If I had a lot of money, I'm very willing to pay whatever it takes. So I don't know like how many hours you're going to bill me for. I'm not sure how. What do you think? I mean, how long is this? How much money is this going to cost?
Yeah, well, that is a really difficult question to answer at this point because we don't know exactly how far down the road we're going to have to go. Right now, it's, as you said, step one. That's going to kind of be just on you to see if you are able to work that out. And then from there, as much help as we can provide you, we will.
Okay.
And we'll try to limit the amount of legal work that we're doing, so court appearances and different filings and stuff like that. We'll try to limit that so that it's not a large bill, because we do understand the financial constraints, and of course you want the money to go to your son and not to go to the legal proceeding of getting your son.
Yeah.
We do understand that.
Yeah, but I'm willing to pay the money if it's going to increase the likelihood of me seeing him more. Yeah, that's no question about that. But I only have what I have.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. So if you can contact her and let us know how she goes in the next 24 hours, that'll kind of tell us where we need to go next, and then if there is a next step, you'll hear from us 2 to 3 days after that 24 hours. But before we can do any of that, you do have to retain us, and we'll have you wait to do that until you find out tomorrow, when you call us tomorrow. But if you are interested in retaining us, you can fill out this retainer and bring that back to us, and we'll be able to begin legal work if we need to.
Okay, just to be clear on the retainer, if I talk to her and she says, yeah, you can start seeing him again, but then ultimately she still wants to proceed with the divorce, then I would like representation. So you could help me with any of these issues, is that correct? The divorce or seeing him as soon as possible or whatever the issue. I mean, I'd like to save the money and the hassle. I don't want to jump from attorney to attorney. And is it correct that I can kind of see for the whole thing if it, wherever it takes us?
Yes, so long as, so long as the interests that we're doing for you in one thing is not like conflicting with something we need to do for you in like another. Do you see what I mean? That way we can be on the same path for whatever it is you need us to do.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
All right, so I'll take this with me and let you know within 24 hours.
Okay.
Do you want me just to email you or call that?
Whichever one works better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have your contact info, so I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not yet.
Okay. So I think the biggest thing is avoiding a legal proceeding here, money-wise, and, he wants it to happen quickly. So if we can do something that's gonna kind of avoid that legal proceeding, I think that's gonna help his interest most.
Right. Of course, if we need to go down that path, we can. But yeah, I think the first, he wants to see his son, and so whatever we can do to make that happen as quickly as possible.
Right. And I think he definitely, even if he's not the bio dad, him being the dad when they got married and when the baby was born, does give him a legal right to see his son. And it might get a little bit murky if the bio dad does show up, and how we're gonna work with that. But I think at least right now, he does have that legal right to see his son.
Okay. It's unclear at this moment, I think, exactly what happened a month ago to where all of a sudden it was out of the thing that seems to be is this guy Warren, who also showed up, I think, a month ago, is that what he said? I'd like to know a little bit more about what happened a month ago.
Yeah.
We'll figure out a way to figure that out.
For sure. Yeah, because I agree, it kind of seems like this Warren character is the turning point here.
And in terms of any factors that a court might look at in terms of like fit for parenting, from what I gathered here, I don't see anything that would like disqualify Denver from being, fit to raise a child or anything like that.
Right. Well, and I mean, really, since it's what's in the best interest of the child, probably having them both in his life is going to be what's in the best interest. And if she's not allowing that to happen, and he is, the court is likely to look at that and hopefully favor Denver because he's willing to allow her to come and see Scotty.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think for now then we should sort of do some research and explore sort of like those injunctions and things to see what we can do.
Right.
In the meantime, if this conversation doesn't go well.
Right, yeah. We'll start looking at that tomorrow after he calls and we figure out.
That's time.
Okay. Thank you.
What is your last name? It's Kaskla, K-A-S-K-L-A.
Say that again?
Kaskla, sorry, K-A-S-K-L-A. And then my first name is actually Christian, but it's Kristian, like my Estonian thing. It's weird. But,
Got it.
yeah. So, anyone? Find you?
Your name?
And also, do you?
Aaron is the first name, it's Aarin. And last name is Kevorkian, Keborkian.
I've never seen your name spelled that way.
Yeah, I've seen the Aaron.
Right.
Right, yeah, so my mom liked that spelling, but because I was a girl and a girl, she decided that.
Before law school.
Right.
I don't know why I'm not a human.
She's like, oh, let's make it a little feminine. So it didn't stop me from being put into like voice PE and some other things. So.
We had a question. We had some like, it was weird. Basically, so this is going to be 35 minutes?
Yes.
Is that including the post-interview
That
discussion?
includes it all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
You good? Beautiful.
Anything else we need to go over real quick?
Let's do great, I guess.
Hi, Kristen. Nice to meet you. What was your first name? Andrea. And
Matt,
hi,
pleasure.
that's my brother's name, so I remember. I always have to like link it to some.
So, we'll bring
All
it.
set? We're
Okay,
ready to
perfect,
go.
thank you.
I wish I
That's
could
not
compare
wrong.
it to a little bit more, like what year they were in.
Please have a seat. Did you have any trouble finding the office?
No, it was good. The directions were clear.
Great. Glad.
Matter where, which one?
No, we're good. So you brought your own water, is there any?
I got this up front from your secretary.
Okay, great.
Perfect. I figured we just, start explain the process to you. I know people are generally, nervous. You have to come in and talk to a lawyer.
Yeah.
But we'll, try and explain it, make sure you're comfortable here. First big thing, I always want to start with confidentiality.
Okay.
I know that is extremely important, and I take it very seriously. I want to make sure that everything we talk about today, we're going to be holding it confidential, right? We're not going to talk to anybody about it. Like, secret keeping is our job. So we want any, if anything comes up, we want to make sure you feel comfortable talking about it, because we're not going to spread it around. Anything you tell us, we're going to use that 100% to help you. So that's what we're all about.
Okay.
The other thing we'd like to go ahead and just get out of the way up front is, you may already know this, it's a flat $100 fee for this initial consultation today. If you decide to take us on as your representation, any further work is going to be billed at $200 an hour. But we want you to feel really comfortable, so if you have any concerns whatsoever about fees or pricing, don't be afraid to ask any questions, or we can also discuss that a little bit later.
Okay.
Just back to confidentiality. There's like only very few exceptions, but I don't think any of that's going to come up today. If it does, I'll, we'll work
Like
around it.
what? Because, what if we don't, so this is just a consultation, what if we don't continue our relationship
No.
then?
We are still going to be holding it entirely confidential, whether or not you choose to retain us. That is totally confidential.
Okay.
So, right, and just as far as the process goes, we're just going to be asking about what's going on. We'll ask you questions, take notes, see what's going on, and then we'll figure out what to do from there and explain that to you and the process going forward.
Okay.
But how about you tell us what brings you into our office today?
Basically, I'm concerned about not being able to see my son. I have a son named Scotty. I'm concerned that I want him to be a part of my life, and my wife is making it really hard right now. So she's my wife, but potentially soon to be former wife. So I just want to make sure that that Scotty is part of my life. I'm his father. I want to be there. I want to be a big part of his life. I want him to be in my life, and I've raised him up to this point. And I don't know, just
How old is Scotty?
18 months.
18 months. And your possibly soon to be ex-wife and Scotty, they're still residing here in Southern Nevada?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
They still live here in Vegas.
You said your wife was making things difficult. Could you tell me a little more about that?
So, we're married, but she moved out and took Scotty about 4 months ago, and she moved into her sister's place. And she was letting me see Scotty for a time, and then I could go over and visit him, play with him, take him on walks, take him to see his grandma, my mother, who also lives in this area. But she stopped about a month ago. She put up a complete barrier and just won't let me see him, and won't says that I can't and all that stuff. It's making me pretty nervous.
Understandable.
Yeah. What if any custodial arrangement has been set up so far?
We haven't come up with anything. I mean, right now she's just saying that I can't be a part of his life. Here's the thing, and I don't know if it's true or not, but according to her, I may not be the biological father. Right? She says she actually has DNA testing to show that someone else is. News to me up until a month ago, but that's why she's saying that I can't see him, that I don't have any rights anymore.
Do you remember when the child was, your wife obviously gave birth to the child? Were you there? Did you fill out any paperwork at that time?
We were married. I'm on the birth certificate.
Right.
So the way that it went down was that I was Mariah is my wife's name. Mariah and I were dating, and she got pregnant and let me know, and she told me that I was going to be a great dad and everything, and I wanted to be, and I was, and so I did what I thought was right. I married her, and wanted to give a stable environment for our son. Scotty was born, so we were married, and then he was born, and then he. I thought everything was going really well until about, like I said, 4 months ago when she moved out. I had no idea that there was even the possibility of him not being biologically, my son until a month ago. But to me, it's whether he's my biological son or not. I would like him to be, but it doesn't change the fact that I've raised him. I have a great relationship with him. He is my son. I've always played with him. I've helped with all the domestic aspects of raising him, changing his diaper, staying up with him when he's sick. We have a really good relationship. He loves me, I love him, and I think that, I think I'm the dad.
Well, that means a lot.
So, from Mariah's side of things, has she given you any indication as to why about a month ago she so clearly tried to sever ties?
Well, at first she said it was because that we married hastily, right? And it was a mistake. But then I found, again, she told me a couple of things a month ago. One is the biological thing, but also that she was seeing somebody. I don't know how long they've been seeing each other. I don't know if it was before or after she left. I'm kind of guessing it was probably before, but I really don't know. So she is, wanting us to split up, and she wants to be with this new guy. Deep down, I still want my family. I want her and our son, but ultimately, she's going to do what she needs to do. But I feel like Scotty is my son regardless. Right? And then this new guy is definitely not the biological father. She had a one-night stand with a guy that I didn't know at the time, obviously, with a former flame from years back. And Mariah claims that this guy, the one-night stand man, is actually the biological father, but he's not in the picture.
Right.
So this new guy, I don't feel like he should be able to insert himself in as the dad. I'm the dad,
Right.
Do you know, has she taken any sort of legal action? Has she contacted any attorney regarding custody, or?
I don't know for sure, but I don't think so. At least she hasn't told me that she has.
Okay.
The only thing she's telling me right now is, stay away, you're not the dad, you don't have any rights.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you do and maybe what she does as well, like work-wise,
Yeah.
living arrangements?
I work for House Depot, local hardware store, and she's not employed, but she lives with her sister, who they live in an apartment. And on that note, I don't make a lot of money. but I make enough money to support him, and I'm willing to allocate as much money as I have, as it takes, so that I can, keep him around.
Right, of course.
And I feel like I can provide that environment for him, and maybe she can't, and so hopefully that's something in my favor here.
You were saying that you think she might not be able to provide that kind of environment. What makes you say that?
Well, she's not employed, and I don't know if her sister is going to keep her, or I don't really know what they have arranged, but I can't imagine they're going to stay together. Mariah's going to live with her sister for all of Scotty's, upbringing. I don't know. But then, this new guy, this boyfriend's in the picture, and he has a job. I don't know him very well, but that makes me think, well, okay, maybe he can help, but I'm the dad, though. I want to. I'm who has raised him. I want to continue to raise him. I know that I can, and so I just want to be able to.
Right, of course. I mean, you've had this kid, and you've given him a lot of love, obviously, and I don't think he or you would ever want that to stop.
Yeah.
So, best case scenario, how would you like the situation to turn out?
What I deep down prefer, and maybe I'm a bit of a sucker, but I still want the three of us to be a family. Mariah, me, Scotty. The wounds are still pretty fresh with all of that, so I'm still trying to work through that. I think that's ultimately what I would prefer. But whether that happens or not, I want Scotty to be in my life. That's the biggest thing.
Right.
The biggest concern I have right now is that for the last month, I haven't been able to see him. So I want that's the pressing issue. What ends up happening with me and Mariah, that's important, but that's not what I'm coming to see you with necessarily. That could develop into something in the future. But now I just want to see him.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
So you mentioned that Mariah had DNA testing, but have you seen any of that paperwork or anything?
No, I haven't seen anything. If this is all just from her, she's not. I don't think she's lying about it. I guess she has been dishonest with me in the past, obviously, with having the one-night stand and him, the guy potentially being the dad, maybe dating this new guy while we were. So dishonesty has been a part of it, but I don't. It would surprise me if she were to go as far as to say that she's done DNA testing, and I'd be surprised if she were lying. I don't know. Maybe I don't really understand the science behind it, so I don't know. I don't know what to do there.
Well, certainly we'll want to talk to her. Do you have her contact information and that kind of thing available? Okay.
Yeah, I have a lot with me. I didn't bring anything else. I didn't really know what to bring, but I have my phone contact, and she's in there.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get that from you.
Do you want to? Are you going to call her? Is that how you're saying? Or?
Well, I think we'll talk to you first, and then we will maybe call her depending on once we've looked into what the proper procedure is, see which way we should go about doing this. Be it contacting the courts first of all, which might be the thing to do, because generally these things, of course, if we can negotiate things out with her, and then we don't even have to deal with any kind of legal situation, that's the most ideal outcome, right? That's the best thing of all. But if we need to, we can try and look into what we can do about the courts as far as determining if your name's on the birth certificate, that kind of thing has importance, and weighing those values out.
Okay. I guess I'm a little. I just want to go about this in a way that increases the possibility of me seeing him sooner, me seeing Scotty sooner. And I guess it would, if it scares her off, if you guys call her. I don't really know what exactly would go down in the conversation, but that's my concern. It's already been a month, and these little kids can only remember people for so long. I'm never going to forget him, but he's 18 months old.
Right.
I don't want 2 more months to go by, 3 more months. I don't want another day to go by.
Right.
And for him to, his face always lights up in the room whenever I walk in, and I'm concerned that even a month has gone by and it won't happen. But so
So in order for us to move forward, then, if we do represent you, we are going to run everything that we want to do by you first. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable with any action that any further work that we may be taking. So, like Christian was talking about, we considered perhaps contacting Mariah. If you're not comfortable with that, that's not necessarily a route that we need to take.
Okay.
I think why it's important, why he was thinking it's important to contact us is we really need to know know what's going on with this DNA testing, and if that is something that's actually happening, and if so, if paperwork exists on that. But it doesn't have to be necessarily one of us that contacts her. If you would feel perhaps more comfortable obtaining that information and getting it back to us, I mean, that's absolutely a possibility as well.
Okay.
So,
I think that's probably the safer route, is if maybe I approach her first.
Right.
I mean, even though she's not letting me see Scotty right now, and she doesn't answer all of my calls, I mean, I could even just send her a text and say, hey, I've spoken with attorneys. I don't know. I mean, I go out in a soft way to not make it feel threatening, but to let her know that I am serious. I really want to see him.
Understandable. No, like absolutely, as you're saying, everything we want to do whatever we can to help you in the best way possible. So as we're looking into this stuff, we're going to try and basically weigh things out for you and present you a number of options, which would then be ideal depending on what we find as far as paperwork goes and the law. So, I mean, that's going to be one of the first things we want to look at, right, is go check out the birth certificate stuff, find out what the court's opinion on these kinds of matters are, look at similar situations and be able to see what happened there. And then once we've done that, we'll be able to come back, talk to you, and see, what the best way to do this is. You talking to Mariah, getting that DNA paperwork and any other kind of paperwork, seeing what she's doing, and then we'd move on from there.
Okay, so just to be clear, excuse me, I may not leave today with those options. You're going to do the research and then we'll touch bases again and see what those possibilities are.
Yeah.
Okay. But in the meantime, I should contact her and tell her that I met with you, or no? I guess what I'm wondering is, what do I do when I walk out this door?
Well, I think the first thing we're going to want to do is try and get any that's going to be step number one, is getting any information we can from you as far as like the paperwork stuff. We'll find birth certificates, right? But then as far as talking to Mariah, I think that's, you will want to talk to her as far as you want to get that paperwork from her. And so I think that would be a good idea to contact her and tell her that, you want to get this paperwork. And whether or not I think it would be a good option to tell her that you have an attorney. Because you obviously care about this kid, so that's really important. And that can also bring her to the bargaining table. But again, I would imagine Mariah's personality better than we do, so you can probably be the best judge of that. But I think our recommendation would be to talk to her and let her know what's going on.
Okay.
The most important thing is that we truly get all of the information surrounding the situation. So, not to sound like a broken record, but like I said before, it's however you feel most comfortable working with this. If you feel that Mariah will be more amenable to you contacting her, as opposed to, I can understand a team of attorneys might not be how she wants to be approached, completely understandable, that's fine. But as much of the burden as you want to place on us as counsel, that is what we're here for, to make it as easy as possible for you. The other thing, I know you said you're pretty sure that she didn't contact an attorney, but if she has, and you discover that information, that could also facilitate the exchange of information just back and forth between us and her representation to kind of get the ball rolling on that.
So if I contact her and find out she has an attorney, then do I stop everything and just tell you so that you can call her attorney?
It would be good to get the contact information of that attorney for us. Try and see what they've been doing, and then we'll be able to talk to the attorneys.
But do I stop talking with her immediately? I don't know. If I find out she has an attorney, do my communications with her stop?
I think
No, I mean, you can go ahead and keep the lines of communication open. I mean, I do think that's important to go ahead and keep an okay relationship with her. The distinction there would be is that we would not be contacting her directly. We would, as attorneys, we would be going through her.
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you said, your ideal option would be you want to reconcile with Mariah if that's possible. And I mean, the best outcome in all of these situations is if you can stay on good terms, and both of you be in that kid's life. So I mean, that's step number one, right?
Okay.
I want to make sure that's going down as well as we can. But again, it's just the more we know about the situation, the better we can advise you. So that'll be number one. But I know, again, this is very time sensitive. You want to see your kid immediately, and we'll make sure we get things going quickly and finding out what's going on so we can offer you advice quickly. But again, talking to Mariah is the good plan to do, getting that information from her.
So you mentioned more information from me and then also just from
Right.
her. So what information do you need right now that could increase my chances of seeing him sooner?
Well,
what information are you talking about? Because I don't know what else to talk about.
right. Well, for one, like just knowledge about like your living arrangements, where are you living, you have your employment, obviously, that's important. Those kinds of information, that kind of information is useful because one of the things the court weighs is how the child can be, happiest and taken care of. If there's a situation where the child would be put into a bad place, the courts would obviously
This is
disallow that.
this is also assuming worst case scenario,
Right.
however. I mean, obviously you're hopeful and we're hopeful as well that this is never gonna have to go to court. I mean, if we can work it that way, that's our number one. This is just kind of assuming if it did get down to that point, what the courts would be considering. But I don't think we're really down that road yet. I think we still just have, just some missing pieces as far as, it sounds like Mariah hasn't been very forthcoming with you. And so that's the information that we're really looking for because it's hard for us to get an idea at this point of where she's coming from and why she's so motivated to simply cut off contact with, biological or not, but only father that Scotty's ever known. It's clear that you care about your son. And it's clear that you're going to do everything in your power to ensure that you still have a good relationship, not only with him, but hopefully with his mother as well. So I think that's kind of where we're at this point, is we still just need to go ahead and do some fact finding from that other end.
Can you think about any other reasons that she might, why this sudden contact? Is there anything else you can think of that might have added to that, other than she just decided that you're not the father and is trying to split away?
I can't think of anything, and the only thing that she did, I was happy in the relationship, so it came as a surprise to me 4 months ago. So I can't think of anything, but the only thing that she's told me are, one, that she thought that we married too hastily and whatnot. I guess married because she got pregnant or whatever, which is odd to me because, she knew she had the one night stand, but didn't tell me and still lied to me, but anyway, so but she says that it was a mistake for us to decide to get married. And then two, the fact that she's dating this new guy. That's all that she's told me. That's all that I can see. I don't know if there's anything else. I doubt there's anything else going on. Look, she's a decent. Well, she's a good mom to Scotty. She treats him well. I don't want to take that from her.
Right.
And I think she's made some decisions that don't really create an ideal environment for a child to be brought up in. I think those are strikes against her, but I still think she's a good mom. I don't have any smoking gun against her.
Right.
But she, I think the dishonesty factor. We don't want her. No one wants to raise a kid in a dishonest environment. I think her hiding the whole one night stand and the whole biological thing from me for all of his life, the 18 months plus the pregnancy. It's a big deal. And then potentially dating this guy while she was still with me. She still is married to me. And she's, to me, it's not an environment to raise a child in.
Right.
But I don't know.
Well, as you were saying, you think she's been making some decisions you think are questionable. Can you elaborate any more on that?
No, that's what I wish for.
Right, gotcha.
She's not.
And so
she treats him well.
Right, I gotcha. And then you said about the other man. So you don't know much about him, but
I mostly know of him. His name is Warren. I don't know. I know that he's employed, but I don't know what he does really. He seems like a pretty decent guy. I'm really concerned that Scotty will start viewing Warren as his father. That's a month has already gone by. Another month or two will go by, and boom, I'm out and he's in. I just don't think that's right. And that guy's definitely he's not the old boyfriend. He's not the biological father for sure.
Right.
So whether I am or I'm not, I've raised Scotty, right, and he's my son. So I have that over this guy, and I think that says something. I just don't want Scotty to kind of see me outside that circle for too long.
Absolutely. I mean, even if we if we look a bit into it and we find out what the status of the law is, right? Regardless of whether you're the real father or not, you've been there for this kid and you've been caring about him, and whether the law recognizes it or not, the best thing we can do is, again, if we can reconcile between you two, and you can be brought into this kid's life, like that's the best solution we can ask for, if you would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line for me is see him the most.
Right, yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
If our family unit can remain intact, even better.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I wanted to ask you about that as well. So right now, I want to see him. That's pressing. If it gets to the point, and it looks like it will probably get to the point where we need to talk about an actual divorce,
Mhm.
right, in custody.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not even there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So what? I guess I just want to be able to know that that's where we're putting our efforts.
Right.
Right. That I can see him. Is there something I've even thought about like calling the police and having them escort me to the house, to the apartment, to say, look, this is my son. I want to see him. Like, what do you?
Well, at this point, I mean, I think you're right. At this point, it sounds as if she doesn't really have any true grounds to keep you from Scotty. Because, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you two are still married, and you are on the birth certificate, and you haven't been presented with any information other than her word that perhaps she's done a DNA test that you're not her father.
Right.
But legally, you are still the guardian of this child.
Right.
I might warn against taking any sort of drastic action, only because your concern seems to me to be keeping things amicable between the three of you.
Yeah.
And to me, that sounds like perhaps, you know better than I do, but that might escalate matters slightly. So I do think that still just kind of like going into and seeing what her motivations are on the one hand, and seeing if we can, you know, circumvent whatever path she's heading towards as far as, you know, trying to keep you from seeing your son. I think there's a better chance of being able to do it that way and keeping the relationships okay, even if it's not necessarily a reunification of the family unit, but at least you will be in Scotty's life.
If we can't go through this and just talk things out, I mean, we would absolutely be willing to go to the courts and make sure, because you want to see your child, and that's perfectly reasonable. And if we find that the law does, you know, support you, we'll pursue every option we can to get you to see, you know, your child. So we'd be absolutely perfectly willing to do that, and we'll be helping you through every step of the way. If you have any questions, anything comes up, please do not hesitate to call us. Any new information, the sooner you can get that to us, the better.
So I just want to be clear on something that we're going to look now at me seeing Scotty as soon as possible. Issue number one. But if a divorce does occur, and we need to talk about custody and stuff as well, is that is that something that I talk to the you two can help me with as well, or do I need to have different representation for these different issues?
No, if you're going through divorce and it's in the custodial arrangement that you're trying to get worked out is tied in with that, we can represent you in all of that.
Okay, so anything that's involved with this whole situation, you guys could help me with.
If there's anything that leaves our expertise, we will immediately be able to refer you elsewhere and let you know about that. We're not going to represent you on anything we don't know enough about. So
yeah, I just didn't know if there was a difference between me seeing him now and then, you know, divorce and custody being a completely separate issue.
I mean, there's going to be different legal issues, but we'll face those as they come up.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Is there anything we haven't touched on today that you feel is important for us to know?
No, I think we've covered the important things. I can't think of anything else that's really missing.
Okay. Well, if you do decide to take us on as your representation, like we said, we think the first thing is to go ahead and see what's going on with this DNA test from Mariah. You can either take that upon yourself to do it, or if you'd like to delegate it to us, we'd be more than happy to contact her.
I think we'll start with me probably.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
But maybe I could get a list of the things that my action items.
Right.
You
Oh,
know.
sure, absolutely.
So I'm gonna talk to her about DNA
Yeah.
and what else am I doing exactly?
Could you get us the paperwork, the birth certificates, any of that information? If you can get that to us maybe tomorrow, would that work for you?
I can come back as soon as, yeah, absolutely, within 24 hours, and this is important, I'm moving stuff back.
Okay, great.
I don't know if I can for sure get in touch with her in
Right.
24, I'm gonna try.
Mhm.
So DNA, birth certificate,
Right, then talk to her, many like your, just status employment, your living arrangements, her like contact information, address, that kind of thing.
Attorney, if she
Right.
has one.
Mm-hmm. All that information, very important. And then once we've done that, we're gonna start looking into it. But would you be willing to take us on as your attorneys?
I think that I'm pretty comfortable with our discussion here, and I think that, yeah, I guess a concern that I have is that I don't make a lot of money.
Mhm.
I don't want to give off the impression that I can't support my son.
Mm-hmm.
I make enough money to support Scotty, but I also don't make a lot of extra money. So like, how many hours do you think it's going to take to wrap all this up? I mean, it's $200 an hour. I'm just kind of doing the math. And
Right. At this point, we're a little, there's just some research, not really sure where this is entirely going to lead at this point. But what you should know is before we take on, before we do work, we'll let you know what we're going to be doing, and hopefully we can get a rough estimate of how much time that's going to take. So nothing, anything is going to be approved by you. You're going to be a part of the process the entire time. We're going to go ahead and keep the lines of communication open. So at this point, it's tough to give you an estimate of the hours, but I want you to feel comfortable with the fact that we really want you to be in charge going forward of the work that we're going to be doing on your behalf.
Yeah.
I understand this is financially difficult, but we can also look into fee waivers and that kind of thing that we can do to reduce your expenses in this legal
a fee
process.
waiver with you or with the court or something, or what?
With us, it would be. So we would be reducing that cost to you, basically.
Okay.
So like the financial information on that also would be useful.
So anything that we can do to kind of keep costs to a minimum,
Right.
but also without sacrificing the
No.
I'm willing to pay whatever it takes to increase my chances of spending time with him, and I pay every last cent that I make. But obviously, if I don't have it, I can't pay it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we don't want to cut any corners for you, but we also don't want to go racking up hours for no good reason. So we want to make sure we get it all done as efficiently as possible. Keep your costs low, but never cut corners. Your child is obviously going to be one of the most important things in your life, and we'd never think to offer you less than the best we can.
okay, then I'll talk to her. I'm gonna think about it. I'll be in touch with you within 24 hours with those items, and then we'll talk about whether we're going to pursue or not.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Sounds good. In the meantime, between now and when you get in touch with Mariah, if you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate, or comments, concerns, please don't hesitate to contact us. We're here, we're available for you. So.
Yeah, and we'll just have you talk to our receptionist on your way out, and then she'll figure out the taking us on as your attorneys and give you the paperwork. You need to think on that. If you need to talk to us more, you can call us again anytime.
I just call the main line, or
Yeah, so we'll have you talk to our receptionist, and then if you can fill out that paperwork and take us on, then that means once that's done and we are your attorneys by that paperwork, that means we can get to work. But we have to wait until that's been confirmed before we start.
Oh, I see. I can do work, but you can't do work for me until I've signed whatever it is.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
But we can go ahead, we can take care of that on your way out today, and she can go ahead and do that for you.
Well, let me get the make sure I'm calling the right phone number tomorrow. But let's wait on the signing until I go talk to her and just think about it for the night.
Right.
But I am feeling comfortable about this. I think this sounds reasonable. You were recommended to me, and hey, I want good results, and so I want to see them. And I think this will probably work out.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll be in touch with him today.
Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think first thing we're going to want to look at is finding out the birth certificate and how his name being on that affects his custody rights. If it matters if he's the biological father, or if it's because he was there, and just by that virtue alone, he is the father and he has all of those legal rights.
Absolutely.
If that's the case, then that's one of those things we can get to him, back to him really quickly and know how favorable his case is, or if it's going to be more difficult.
I also think that on our side, and certainly was a concern of clients, time is certainly of the essence.
Yes.
He's already been out of his son's life for about a month, and it
Right.
doesn't really sound like there's grounds for her to keep him from his son at this point. So I do think that's very disconcerting. We don't even know at this point if she truly has a DNA test that's been done. So if she doesn't have that, then none of the biological father
Right.
portion of this isn't even an issue at this point.
It could
There
be-
hasn't been a
yeah,
test
it
done.
totally could be fabricated. We'll look into that.
I think it's promising that he looks at reconciliation.
Mhm.
Not necessarily even as of the entire family, but it sounds like he would potentially be open to, a visitation arrangement, even if he doesn't necessarily, if it comes to this, and he
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily get sole custody. So
No, that's good. I mean, I think we heard him loud and clear that he said the ideal situation would be if he can, be in good relations with Mariah and the kid, and then if they could be together and take care of that kid properly, that's what counts. So,
At the
wanna
end
make
of
sure
the
you're
day,
close
he
to that.
sounds caring, motivated. He's got the financial means to support his son,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, obviously, I mean, father wants to take care of his kid, he has living arrangements, he has a job, doesn't seem to be a deadbeat. We can look into like criminal records of either him or his wife, see what's going on about that. We'll want to find out definitely if she's taken any kinds of legal actions, if she's filed any paperwork in the courts about getting sole custody. And it'll be important to hear back from him as soon as possible. And again, time sensitive, so we got to get kicking on it.
absolutely.
Let's see here. Anything else?
Sounds like a plan.
We got it going? All right. Good work, partner.
Thank you.